Hello students, today we are going to see about collective bargaining as a part and parcel of industrial relations. Previous part of industrial relations we had learned about industrial disputes, and as a part of that this chapter we are going to learn about collective bargaining. You might have heard about the process of collective bargaining before also. We generally practice it, the bargaining process, in the vegetable market and in certain retail points also. So, what is collective bargaining and among whom or between whom it has been conducted, that we are going to see today. We will also see why it has been conducted, on what points, in what situations, and on what circumstances the collective bargaining has been conducted, and what are the different steps through which the collective bargaining process goes on or proceeds further. So let us see, first of all, what is collective bargaining as far as HRM is concerned, as far as industrial relation between employees, workers, and the employers are concerned. So, collective bargaining is the process of negotiation between the employer and a group of employees whenever there is any issue. This is a process of negotiation between the employer or his team, his appointed team of different experts or representatives of different departments capable enough for negotiating, as well as a team from employees side, workers side, labor side, or a recognized trade union side, which is again capable for putting points or putting stands of the workers and employees effectively. So the collective bargaining is a process of negotiation on the demands and expectations of both the employers as well as the employees. Let us see why and when the collective bargaining process takes place. It takes place on certain situations or events whenever any issue occurs, like problems on wages, problems on leaves, workers' safety, training program, etc. So, whenever there is any issue regarding compensation, timing of the working, and its relation to the compensation, wages, salaries, etc., then the collective bargaining is likely to take place. Whenever there are any uncongenial working conditions, working environment for the employee wherever they work, physical working conditions as well as social working conditions, then there is a need for collective bargaining. Let me first describe that collective bargaining is an initial part or an initial process, after which if it is not successful, then the matter has been forwarded towards different conciliation processes or conciliation bodies, from internal bodies like work committee to external bodies like conciliation officer, board of conciliation, arbitration, adjudication, which includes tribunals, courts, etc., one by one. So let us see first of all why the collective bargaining has been conducted. It has been conducted on different issues like working conditions, training, wages, salaries, welfare, benefits, and so on. Whenever there is any problem about layoff, the layoff has been given to the employees and workers depending upon the recessions, depending upon the less demand in the market, depending upon the cost saving, competitive requirements, etc. Then also the collective bargaining is required. So let us see one by one the steps of collective bargaining. Collective bargaining includes six basic steps. First, the preparation from both the parties or leaderships of the both the parties. It may be the trade union, recognized trade union, and their leadership, as well as the managerial leadership, the general manager, the managing director, the chairman of the company or the board of director, a small core committee or core team who leads the company. It prepares from the company's side what are the points to be put and how strategically those are to be negotiated from the company's side. Whereas from the trade union side, recognized trade union side, the trade union leadership and its core committee prepare that what are the different points on which to negotiate, what are the additional strategic points which are temporarily and artificially to put forward purposely with the strategy to take back on it, and then to focus on the remaining points. As we play in the chess, we play certain artificial strategies in the chess, and then accordingly we get the desired move from our competitor, from our opponent in the chase. Accordingly, both the parties, leadership of both the parties in the collective bargaining, plan certain strategic points on which to bargain, and then on which points to take back and which point to proceed further. as a counter. So this is a preparation, general preparation. Accordingly, the trade union as well as the company leadership decides, find out, search, and appoint the right people who are capable enough to negotiate. First of all, they must have the strong stand from the parties to whom they are representing. Let it be the labor representative or worker representative. If they are taking part in the negotiation, then they must be firm on their stand from the point of the labor. They must not be that much convincible or flexible to change their move or change their stand as per the requirements, expectations, and convincing efforts of the opposition party in the collective bargaining. So they must have firm stand, they must be skilled enough, or they must be tricky enough, as just now we have discussed, and they must have necessary expertise or knowledge on which they are negotiating. What are the points to be put by opposite party, and what kind of basic knowledge or expertise is required to understand as well as to negotiate on that point which has been put by the opposite party. The necessary knowledge is possessed by whomsoever members of the recognized trade union. Those are generally selected as the members of the negotiating body or negotiating team from the trade union side, recognized trade union side of the company. Whereas as far as company is concerned, company leadership is concerned, or management is concerned, generally the members taking part from the company in the negotiation or collective bargaining are representatives of different departments like marketing, HR, finance, production, etc., on which the collective bargaining is likely to take place. At the same time, they must be capable enough, skilled enough, and firm enough from the management side. So in this way, preparation has been made in the first step, strategies has been planned in the first step, right people have been selected. Now the process goes to those people who are selected. It started from the leadership from the trade union and from leadership of the company. Now it proceeds further after the selection of the representatives to these representatives. Further, all process of collective bargaining will be conducted by these selected member from the company or appointed member from the company and elected member of the trade union, recognized trade union, taking part in the collective bargaining. So now these group of people, these are playing certain roles, these are working on certain posts, selected, appointed, or elected roles. But beyond their roles, they are the human beings and they are negotiating to each other, even though through different roles. But after all, the coordination, understanding, and harmonious environment, necessary harmonious environment for negotiating discussion or negotiating interaction is required to be conducted among themselves. So they try to get acquainted to each other. If they are not acquainted to each other, if there is certain time gap, or if there is a gap of harmonious relationship, they are in the contact to each other but they may not have that much harmonious relationship. So in such case, they may create the necessary harmony to proceed further on a win-win approach negotiation. To proceed further on win-win approach negotiation, first of all, there is a need for proper coordination, understanding, and sufficient harmony among the human beings who are conducting the negotiation between or among themselves. So, for that, for the proper process or proper procedure of win-win approach oriented negotiation process, necessary understanding, coordination, and harmonious relationship development for short-term relationship, temporary relationship has been developed by these human beings who are playing roles of the negotiators from the trade union, recognized trade union, and the company. So in the third step, they discuss or they make the primary discussion among themselves on the rules to be set for the discussion. What are the points to be discussed and what are not the points to be discussed? What are the points to be discussed more and what are the points to be discussed less? Primary agreement on these different factors is required to be developed among them. Then only the process of collective bargaining can proceed further. So they create proper understanding, proper harmony, and proper coordination among each other and decides, puts, or lists out the different points and the degree of discussion of point on every point, each point. So this is third step on which the primary discussion takes place and listing out the different possible options or possible solutions. Then after this necessary understanding or necessary bridging process, fourth step is developing Now the people met to each other, they contacted to each other, they agreed on point to be discussed, they agreed on the degree of the discussion on those point to be discussed, not about those point which are not agreed upon to be discussed further. And in next step, then both the parties develop certain proposal on which other party they expect to agree. Of course, this is something to be done with the common sense, that whatever demands we are putting, whatever expectations we are putting, those must be convincible, or we must be confident enough to make convince the opposite party. And we must be able to understand, we must have sufficient understanding the role, the point of view, the mindset through which the opposite party is bargaining. Then only we will be able to convince them to accept our point or to agree on our points. So from that practical or feasible point of view, the proposal of collective bargaining has been developed. Two different proposals have been developed by both the parties, the labor party or trade union, recognized trade union, as well as from the management. And then they discuss among each other what are the possible or potential compromises to be done by the opposite party, what are the potential compromises to be done by our party, whichever party is negotiating. There it is necessary to decide, it is necessary to understand that whenever any negotiation is taking place, at that time on some points we must make agree the other party when we are ready to be agree on some points of the or some demands, some expectations of the another party. So there we try to find out or list out what are the different potential compromises we are ready to do, what are the different potential compromises another party is likely to do. Then only both the parties can move from their firm, strict or rigid positions and can come nearer on some compromisable solution or win-win approach. Then they list out the different or they outline the different acceptable potential compromises, acceptable solutions of the problems of both the parties with the win-win approach. And ultimately they discuss on each other, and if the process of negotiation is proceeding further healthily in a healthy way, then they may agree on certain points. However, this all process of discussion, negotiation is at the level of discussion. Even though initially we discuss about that the members who are elected, selected, and appointed for the collective bargaining are generally capable people, expert people, the people with the firm mindset for their party to whomsoever they are representing, as well as they must have necessary authority, because in collective bargaining they are going to make commitment to each other. So somebody who is making commitment, first of all he must have that much authority, and it is not the case at all that they are given the authority as they are going to represent the company in the collective bargaining, but it is those people only who are already having the authority, and that's why only they have been selected for the collective bargaining negotiation process. The company's financial manager, the company's managing director, the company's general manager, or any person who has been given the power of attorney is authorized person to make a commitment from the company side. Whereas the trade union, recognized trade union members, recognized trade unions leader, recognized trade union secretary, etc., are authorized people from the labor or worker side. They are having authority, legal authority to make commitment, and that's why they are given participation in negotiation process. And that's why till now, whatever just now I've seen, that potential compromises have been listed out, potential or outline of possible solution has been listed out, and certain agreements has been tried to be reached upon. This all process is the process of discussion. At the level of discussion only, it is not that much mandatory, it is not that much binding. It becomes binding or necessary, mandatory only when both the parties reach to such agreement which is in written and it has been duly signed by the authorized people, authorized representatives of both the parties. So after sufficient discussion, negotiation, agreement, getting back from certain points, getting remaining firm on certain points, accepting or agreeing on certain points of another party, at the discussion level only, at the interaction level only, whatever discussion has been reached to conclusion level, agreement level, that has been put into the written form, legally written form, on the letterhead, on the bond paper, with sufficient dating, sufficient outward numbers, sufficient witnesses, signatures of sufficient witnesses, and sufficient authorities, and then it becomes the mandatory. So this is overall process of the collective bargaining. Collective bargaining, let us have summarized the overall discussion yet now. Collective bargaining is the process of negotiation between employer and a group of employees whenever any issue occurs. It is likely to be different issues like working conditions, layoffs, compensation related matters, different compensation related matters, safety, etc. And it starts from preparation from the leadership of both the parties, management, company management, and the recognized trade union, selecting, electing, appointing the capable, skilled, and negotiable people, the people having sufficient stand, firm stand, authorities, knowledge, expertise, and convincing ability, negotiation ability. Their levels, the representatives levels, initial, primary, coordinating, and harmonizing dialogue and agreement upon initial agreement upon the points to be discussed upon, then the actual discussion, putting compromising points, compromising solutions, listing out agreement points, getting back from some points, agreeing some points of another party, and trying to reach towards the win-win solution, and ultimately putting it to, if it is getting successful, then only the further step occurs, ultimately putting into a written, legally binded documents duly signed. If it has been signed and accepted, then if both the parties, any further party has been following it, then it is accepted, mandatory. If another party is not following it, then it is not mandatory to follow one sidedly on any party. At the same time, whenever there is no agreement, no actual legally acceptable binded written agreement has been reached upon, then it can be forwarded, not necessarily it must be, but it can be forwarded towards internal working committee, one of the initial conciliation authority, and one by one if necessary further conciliation authorities, or directly the weapons of industrial relations, the weapons of workers, the weapons of management can be utilized. So this is overall about the collective bargaining. Thank you.